Hello, welcome back, guys. It's good to have you here, as usual. Another pearl of a day here in Sydney. I fucking love this city. And as it's summer over here and we are approaching Chrissy, I thought it would be very appropriate to start talking about how to not be a wanker over Christmas. For one, because so many people are wankers over Christmas, particularly people who lift. Because the thing is, whenever Christmas comes around, there's this big psychological dilemma that hits so many people who are training. They're like, oh, on one hand, I've got to follow my diet. I've got to follow it perfectly. And then on the other hand, you know, there's all this other crap that's going on. And I've got Christmas pudding, I've got ice cream, I've got eggnog, I've got grog, I've got prawns, I've got all that crap, all right? And so many people get confused about what do I do? And more often than not, people are like, nah, I'm not going to have anything. I'm not going to see my family. I'm not going to do anything. I'm like, you're a bit of a wanker if you do that. So we're going to go over that, all right? And on top of that too, we're going to discuss vegans and go into a little bit about vegans and vegan gains and all that sort of stuff. And then we're going to go compare HIIT with steady state cardio, all right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share. I'm going to let some more people get on here so we can spread the good word of Papa Shred. And then we'll crack it off. It's good to see we've already got everyone here. We've got Alex, James, welcome. Brenton, good to have you here, big fella. Kelly, how are you, mate? And then Chance, legends. Oh, also, if you haven't already, hit up my Facebook too. We've got a free digestive health ebook coming out for everybody who messages, all right? And so, yeah, if you haven't already got that, let us know and we'll get it through to you. How are you, Sid? Okie doke. Well, I'm just going to share this right now. Excuse my multitasking. It's terrible, I understand. But I'm a man. I'm very much a man. 24-year-old man now. Bam. Alright, that's shared. And I'll give you the link to jamescarefitness.com. So guys, if you're here and you kind of want to talk with someone about planning out your goals, structuring your training, all that sort of stuff, just follow the link here, jamescarefitness.com. Righto? And there's a big orange button at the top where you can click it to call it. And pretty much you'll go through and you'll have a chat with one of my team and they can help you out. Alright? Who we got on here? Well, I've got Sid. Sid's rocked up. Good to see you, mate. Danny Burford, how are you, brother? Warwick, thank you very much for the happy birthday, my man. And Mark, yes, I am old. Get over it, I'm 24 now. Alright, well let's crack on into it then. On how to not be a wanker over Christmas, because so many people are. As I was saying right at the start of this, okay? So many people are absolute wankers, alright, over Christmas. So many people train, all right, and they train, they diet, and they pretty much put their whole bodybuilding life ahead of everything else over Christmas. They neglect their family, they neglect their friends, they don't do anything, all right? That is a wanker act. Christmas time, this festive season, is a time for you to actually spend time with your family, all right? You have 51 other weeks of the year to go spend it lifting and doing all that stuff. And just because you have Christmas doesn't mean you need to give up everything, okay? So really, I guess there are two types of wankers, actually. I should even split it off. There's number one, the people who are like, oh, well, you know, I'm going to have a bit of Christmas pudding, so I'm not going to diet for the next month. Wanker, all right? And then on the other hand, there are those who are like, oh, yeah, well, you know, I'm not going to have anything. I'm not going to see my family, I'm not going to see my friends because they're going to be eating stuff that isn't shred-friendly, all right? There's a definite wankerish tendency, okay? So, first things first, here are a few things to remember, all right, as you're dieting around Christmas and how to not be a wanker and how to get along with everything and everyone and fit everything in, okay? Number one, having a bit of alcohol is not going to kill your gains for the rest of your life, okay? It is not going to send you back months. It is simply not going to send you back months. If you have one beer, all right, if you have one glass of wine, if you have one bit of vodka, all right, that is not going to kill you, straight up. It is not going to kill you. It is not going to make you go catabolic and lose all your muscle, okay? In fact, you could drink for a couple of days straight and you won't lose all your muscle, all right? You won't be optimal, sure, definitely not going to be optimal, but you're not going to lose your muscle, you're not going to go backwards, all right, in a huge, huge way. If you're binging all the time, yes, that's a different story. If you're binging on alcohol, you're not gonna do too well. I mean, that's kind of common sense, isn't it? We should have known that for a while now, okay? we should have known that binging on alcohol is not the best way to go about it. Okay. But chances just ask, what about a bottle of wine? Look, dude, a bottle of wine, if you're doing it to yourself, well, one, respect. I don't know how you do that. There's no way in hell I can do that by myself. But if you're doing a bottle of wine every single night, yeah, no, it's not going to be too great. If you're doing a bottle of wine once over the festive period, you're sweet. You know, it's really not going to do too much. Okay, it's all about moderation. Right? Alcohol is not going to kill you. It is not going to kill you. It is not going to, you know. It's not going to ruin you. If you're having 2 or 3 a night, that's fine, okay? You're having a couple of glasses a night for 1 week, that's sweet. The thing you need to remember with alcohol is that it actually changes your metabolism of food, the way you break down food, the way you eat, you consume your calories, all that sort of thing. So, when you are drinking alcohol, apparently, you are more likely to actually store carbs and fats, which are consumed while you're drinking alcohol, as fat. All right? That is what I've been told for however long, and that is what I would actually see to be true, to my mind as well. Which does violate the laws of thermodynamics. Yes, if it fits in macros nutters who are on here, I do understand that it does violate that, but that is what we see, okay? And that is what has been put to me for a very, very long period of time, and from what I see, it holds true. So what I'd recommend is actually avoid eating fatty and carby foods while you are drinking, and just stick to pure protein. Okay? That's it. Alright? The next thing which we need to remember is that over Christmas, a lot of you guys will go home and go back to see your family, and you really stress out about, you know, not being able to train optimally. There was a study done recently which shows that missing 2 weeks of training will not negatively affect your gains at all, right? You will not actually go back, okay? You will not actually go back. You need to make sure that you don't get stressed out by not being able to train for a day or 2 days or 3, or not even just not being able to train optimally or to exactly to your program, right? It doesn't really matter for a very short space of time, okay? Moderation is key, guys. On one hand, right, you've got 51 weeks where you can train optimally, diet optimally, and do all that stuff. You've got 1 week here where you can spend with your family and your friends and chill out and relax, okay? You should be using it to relax and rest up. For all of you guys who are watching this, there's a very, very high chance that you're a type A personality. And when you're a type A personality, you have the tendency to go too hard as opposed to rest too much, all right? If you're all lazy fat bastards, you wouldn't be watching me right now, because I wouldn't appeal to somebody like that, okay? Straight out, you wouldn't be watching me. You'd think I'm a fucking knob. You'd think I'm a knob, 100%, and you wouldn't have any interest in what I have to say. So there's a very high chance you're going to be a type A personality, okay? You will work too hard as opposed to rest too hard. So you can take this 1 week to rest, drink a little bit of alcohol, eat a little bit of food, all right, and not train as much as what you normally would. So utilize this week, and that is the main way that you can not be a wanker over Christmas, is by utilizing this week to rest up, recover, and feel good, okay? Other things that you can do is to plan ahead and meal prep, all right? You want to mitigate how much damage that you do, right? You want to mitigate it by making sure that you're not eating crap all day, every single day. So if you are if you're eating rubbish all day, every day for a week, and you're on like 10,000 calories a day, you're smashing Christmas pudding every day, you're smashing, you know, turkey, whatever, whole heaps of it every single day, yes, that will start to have an effect. But if you meal prep throughout the day, and then you have like 1 or 2 meals a day, which are slightly larger, all right? And you have them with your family, like a big lunch or a big dinner or something like that, then that's going to be okay. So you need to plan ahead in order to mitigate any other effects of having a very high calorie diet. You don't want to go too high on your calories, right? The next thing is you want to drink a shitload of water. Over Chrissy, right? For those of you who are in Australia, which is the vast majority of people here, it's fucking hot, all right? It's really, really hot here in Australia. Most people will end up being dehydrated over there, and when you're dehydrated, that is terrible for your gut, really bad for your digestive system, okay? And it's also bad for your gains. So you want to actually make sure that you're drinking a shitload of water through this. Always stick to the 70 mils per kilo of body weight, all right? That is what you want to stick to. That is exactly what you want to stick to, 70 mils per kilo of body weight. Stick to that, you will be fine, okay? But I guess the general thing that I'm trying to get across here is that you need to have everything in moderation, right? You need to make sure that you get in, everything is okay in moderation. Well, most things are, except for gluten and dairy. You don't want to be eating gluten, you don't want to be eating dairy over this time. Yes, I'm sure that does rule out, Christmas pudding and bits of custard and ice cream and shit like that. But there are so many other good things that you can have instead, all right? Always find a substitute, because those are the two big killers, all right, of your gut and of your gains, gluten and dairy. They often have long-lasting effects on your physique and how you look and how you feel, all right? I mean, geez, how many of you guys here would put your hands up if I said, look, remember the last time when you smashed ice cream and you looked watery as fuck the next day? Like, you looked like a big, bloated, blubbery whale and your belly jiggled up and down because you had so much water. Yes, I know a lot of you would have, that would have happened to you, okay? So yeah, no, it massively affects you. So try and avoid gluten and dairy, all right? With your calories, just moderate them. Plan ahead and look after it, okay? And make sure you don't go too far overboard. Now, Chances just put up a question there, and he said, what about if you're cutting? Okay, what happens if you're cutting over this period? It's like, dude, you program this in, right? You program this 1 week into your protocol. You make it fit. Just because you're cutting doesn't mean the whole rest of your life has to stop. You can have 1 week of elevated calories where you can allow for several cheat meals while the rest of your day is in lower calories, okay? It doesn't have to be that hard. And for all the people who are speaking with my team, everyone who's working with me and, my team are calling you up and chatting with you and sorting out strategies over this Christmas period and the lead up to it, because that's what we do. You'll hear us say to you, is like, look, don't worry about it too much. Don't be a dickhead, but don't stress out. Don't be a Christmas wanker either. Don't be a dickhead and don't be a wanker. They're the two big things that you need to worry about. All right, pretty simple. Eat a little bit of food, all right? Avoid gluten, avoid dairy, all right? And don't go overboard. Don't stress. It is really not a big deal. It's only 1 week of the year, max. Shit, I don't even know anyone who celebrates Christmas for a whole year anyway. So yeah, it's really not a lot of time. Okay? But yeah, that's pretty much it. Hey, that's really it. For not being a wanker around Christmas, just make sure that, yeah, everything in moderation and you'll be fine. I'm gonna go through some of the questions which we've got up now. Also, guys, as well, for those of you who haven't heard me say this before, every single one of these live videos are a chance for you to ask me questions. So anything you have that you want to chat about, ask it and we will get round to it. Okie doke, what do we got? Josh Bishop's asked, is 2 or 3 beers a night okay? Yeah, man, 2 or 3 beers a night is fine. Really, it's not going to do too much as long as it's just for a very short period. Right? If you want optimal results for a sustained period of time, yes, 2 or 3 beers a night is not going to be great. Now, Chances just asked, Christmas aside, if you had a cheat meal and it was way over macros, do you need to go into deficiency the following day and have less of something, or just stick to the same diet? If you have a cheat meal and the next day you feel the need to work it off, that is the best way. This is a really good way to give yourself an eating disorder. It's absolutely fantastic, because you could use that logic then, which a lot of people do, to say, well, if I just eat this food, if I go and vomit it out an hour later, I'm going to be sweet. And it's like, no, you're not going to be sweet. It's actually going to really fuck you up, both physically and psychologically. The same thing goes for, all those cardio bunnies at the gym, those girls. You'll see them, they'll go out and have a cheat meal the night before, and the next day they'll be in there, in the gym, on the shred mill, at 4 a.m. in the morning, grinding over, doing kilometers, okay? That is a fantastic way to give yourself an eating disorder. So no, if you have a cheat meal and you go over your macronutrients, don't fucking worry about it, okay? All you need to do is you need to utilize those calories into working harder and working your ass off for the next week. That is what you need to do, all right? You don't need to be up at 4 a.m. the next morning, working your butt off, all right, for all the calories that you've just eaten. Doesn't work like that. It does not help at all. Now, Nikki Paulette's just asked, sweet potato wedges as a carb source. They're fantastic, mate, especially if you make them yourself. Maddie, how are you, swags? Maddie's just asked, how far past BMR can you go before too much is too much? Man, it depends. So Maddie's just asked about how far past your basal metabolic rate can you start eating before you start really putting on fat. And the answer really doesn't matter about your basal metabolic rate. So for those of you who don't know what a basal metabolic rate is, it is the baseline number of calories that you would burn if you're not moving at all. Like if you're in a coma, that is the number of calories that you would just burn on that day. What we're concerned with is your total daily energy expenditure. So how many calories you burn throughout a whole day. That takes into account, the effect of eating food, that takes into account, the effect of training, walking around, all that sort of thing. So what you need to do to work out how far past your TDEE or how many more calories you can eat than in your total daily energy expenditure, right? That's really play it by ear. So I'm roughly cruising on about 5,000 plus calories a day. Now, any theoretical calculator would have me on consuming far less calories than that to be at my maintenance, but I'm maintaining pretty well or growing and actually losing fat too on 5,000 calories a day. So really, man, I guess the point of me using that, it was using myself as an example, means it doesn't matter. Right? It really doesn't matter. There's no set amount. You need to eat as much food as you physically can while still staying lean. That is the goal. That is what we do for every single one of our clients, okay? And that is what you guys should be doing for yourselves too. Make sure that you eat as much as you can without putting on fat. If you start eating more and you start putting on more fat, well, eat a little bit less and see how your body responds. All right? I hope that answers your question, big fella. Michael Snell, do you believe there's an optimal time to train? No, I don't. Brenton, 134 kgs from 160.5. No loose skin yet. Feeling sweet. Cheers again for the vids, Jimmy. Mate, I'm glad it's helping, big fella. Keep killing it. Drake, this fella's a true blue Aussie. My question is, drinks like Powerade, electrolyte drinks in general, are they good or bad idea when you're trying to tone up your belly? Silly question, but I'm kind of addicted to them. Mate, look, if you're having them in that post-workout window, I'd say they're okay, but you've got to control the amount. In the end of the day, all right, after gut health, the next thing that really matters, after the things that affect how much energy you inherently expend, the next thing that you need to look after are your macronutrients, okay, and your calories. So you need to make sure that you're not drinking too much, man, right? If you need a hand with this, just shoot us an inbox and I'll have one of the boys go with you. Matty's just then asked, can you undo a week's dieting in one Christmas Day cheat meal? Yes, you can. So when you're dieting, you're trying to lose fat, right? Fat loss doesn't really matter day by day or minute by minute or hour by hour. It's a matter of looking at the long-term effects of your dieting. So in the end of the day, what you need to do in order to lose fat is to burn more calories than what you put in, all right? Now, if you have a fat Christmas Day cheat meal and you're eating like, what, 30,000 calories, let's say, for example, I'd be impressed if you could. But that means that over the week, it averages out to over 4,000 calories per day, all right? And if your energy expenditure is less than 4,000 calories per day, well, you're gonna put on fat. So yes, you will undo a week's dieting, okay? On top of this too, if you're eating 30,000 calories, you're probably gonna put a shitload of digestive stress on, okay? Like a heap of digestive stress on. And that's further going to impact your body's ability to expend energy, okay? On top of that too, you'll change your neurotransmitters, all right, which will reduce your motivation, and it'll make you end up feeling like shit, all right? That is what will happen. So yes, it is possible to undo a week's worth of dieting with one cheat meal, all right? And it's also possible to negatively affect your ongoing fat loss through one days of shit eating. Now, Daniel's just asked, what's the best protein? Man, it doesn't fucking matter, right? Any protein is good protein. Damien, what are your thoughts on ISO 100 whey protein? Or is there a lactose-free or gluten-free alternative you would recommend? Right? Man, I've got no idea about ISO 100 whey protein. I just use Sabido because that's what I use and it's the best one I've found. Damien's then asked, hey James, in your own opinion, what is the best way to tone up or cut if your diet is decent and you're making your way to the gym 5 times a week plus cardio after a heavy bulk? Man, you just gotta eat smarter. Eat lots of protein, okay? Reduce your calorie intake, optimize your gut, you'll be sweet, all right? And make sure you're eating as much food as you possibly can while still losing fat, all right? Good questions, by the way, guys. I like them. All right, now we've gone over how not to be a wanker. The next one which we'll cover is vegans, right? Everyone loves to bash on vegans, the poor vegans, because they're really not a bad bunch of blokes and girls. Because, I mean, I coach a fair few vegans, and there's actually no real reason why a vegan shouldn't be able to get similar results in the gym to what a meat eater does, right? Now, the thing is, when you look at most vegans, they are fucking scrawny, right? They're scrawny little weedy people, a lot of them. The ones who don't know how to diet. But the thing is, mate, is that they don't have to be. They don't have to be scrawny. In fact, if you diet properly while being a vegan, you can actually get better results, right? But first things first, before we get into that and how to, how vegans can actually get the same results as people who eat meat, or very similar results, I want to debunk a couple of myths which are perpetuated by the vegan industry, okay? So number one, veganism is not inherently healthier for you, alright? It is not inherently healthier for you whatsoever. In fact, it may actually be less healthy for you because you're missing out, or most vegans miss out on certain micronutrients. The most important of which is iron, okay? Particularly in women. Now I use my missus as an example. I hope her parents aren't watching because they're vegan. But my missus was actually anemic until she started eating meat, really. And when she started eating meat, she actually started getting elevated iron levels. And it turns out that she has a gene for hemochromatosis, right? Which means that her body naturally holds on to higher levels of iron. So when she was vegan, she was anemic, and when she started eating a balanced, healthy diet, including meat, all right, she started to actually have like much higher levels of iron in her bloodstream. In fact, almost too high. Okay, so yes, iron's a very, very big concern for vegans because none of the fucking iron-filled veggies are actually any good for iron. Your body does not absorb it terribly well at all. It's a very, very poor form of iron, okay? So vegans have to be very careful of that because it is not a healthier way to live, flat out. Meat doesn't give you cancer. Meat isn't addictive. It doesn't contain fucking opioids or anything stupid like that, okay? It is not a healthier way to go, right? Straight up, flat. In fact, being a vegan actually might lead to some sorts of mental health disorders. Now, a lot of you meat eaters are gonna crack up. I almost did, to be perfectly honest, because I know a lot of vegans who the way they act, I'm like, yeah, I'm not surprised you got a mental health disorder. But yeah, no. So pretty much, vegans have been shown in some recent studies, not all the recent studies, to be more susceptible to certain things like bipolar and schizophrenia, right? So those two things. There are some studies which are showing against that, but there's also a substantial amount of evidence going for it, okay? So yeah, so vegans actually may be more susceptible to mental health issues, right? One thing with a vegan diet, with vegan and vegetarian diets, is that they're really shit with protein. They get literally no good protein sources in. So if you are a vegan and you do want to look good, right? You do want to look good, you want to get leaner, you want to get bigger, you're actually going to need a supplement with a heap of protein sources like protein isolates, pea proteins, rice proteins, hemp, all that sort of stuff, okay? And the good thing about this is that you actually can still get lean and big if you supplement with these things. Amino acids, BCAAs, EAAs, they're also great, but you need to supplement that because a vegan diet does not provide enough protein to look good, plain and simple. If you eat a vegan diet, a traditional vegan diet, you're going to look shit. You're going to lose muscle and you're going to gain fat. That is just what happens. You'll end up being skinny fat, okay? There are literally no exceptions to that whatsoever. Guys, you'll see out on the web, there are all these people who are saying, oh, look man, I'm a bodybuilder, I'm this big, and I'm vegan now, and I look awesome and I feel amazing. And it's like, yeah, bro, but you were fucking running anabolic steroids for the last 15 years and you're eating a meat diet when you built up your physique. Now you're half your size, you still look good, but you're vegan. Like, it doesn't mean that the vegan diet got you there by any means at all, okay? So don't be deceived. If you are going to be vegan, you do want to grow muscle mass and lose fat, you can do it. You can still look good, but you do need to supplement with a very, very hefty amount of protein isolate supplements. Now, the next thing I notice about vegans is that a lot of them actually have digestive issues. And the most common digestive issue that I see, this is just from my observation, the people that I've worked with, is that they have low levels of hydrochloric acid. I'm not sure as to why that is, but it is the case. And this results in them getting like a little belly, a small little belly, and having really, really stubborn abdominal fat, even though the rest of them is really, really super, super lean, okay? And so that's one thing that all vegans need to be really, really aware of, is that you just don't have as good a digestive system as what other people do, or this is what it seems to be anyway. Supplementing beta and HCl and some apple cider vinegar can dramatically improve that, okay? On top of this too, a lot of people stop eating meat because they find meat very hard to digest. that doesn't mean you should go vegan. A vegan diet doesn't mean you're like just more cut out for a vegan diet. That means that you've got literally hydrochloric acid insufficiency in your stomach. Have a little bit more betaine and HCl, take some digestive enzymes, improve your gut health, and have some apple cider vinegar, and then bang, you'll be able to eat meat again. Okay? Rightio. So that's it on vegan. That's the skinny on vegans, in that you still can get optimal gains, but it's a bit harder, and you do need to make sure that your protein intake's adequate. Right, I'm gonna go through some more of these questions that we've got. Mickey Snell. Awesome job on the 200 kilo deadlift, by the way. Thank you, brother. Appreciate it. Do you have any tips on getting to that sort of weight, as well as recovery tips? All right, so guys, if you want to deadlift big, the easiest way to deadlift big is to, number one, make sure your form's on point. I deadlifted 240 kilos 2 years ago. Right? 2 years ago, I hit 240. Actually, it might be even longer than 2 years ago. I haven't hit 240 for a deadlift since. Why? Because my form is shithouse. My form has been shithouse for ages. I haven't been able to brace my abdomen correctly. I don't lock on my lats. There are a whole heap of things, whole heap of biomechanical issues which are just off. If you want to lift bigger, you need to make sure your form is optimal. All right, moving on from that, you need to stop training like a bitch and actually feel like vomiting on yourself is acceptable as doing a deadlift. If you want to get stronger with a deadlift, you need to lift hard, all right? You need to lift hard, you need to lift big, you need to lift quick, okay? If you do that, you'll be sweet, all right? And you will go up in weight. The next thing is program yourself so that you will get stronger in your deadlifts, okay? Don't just go 100% week in, week out like I do, all right? If you want to get stronger, you need to make sure that you have weeks where you're not pushing to absolute failure, okay? So they're my top 3 tips for it. Tips just asked, hey mate, if you went overboard on one day and are well over your calories, is it of any benefit to restrict them the next day, or should I just jump back on the food plan and eat normal? Good question. We just had this one before, big fella. Mate, just go straight back to the meal plan. Don't worry about fucking getting up the next morning, doing cardio, or starving yourself for the next day. That's how you give yourself an eating disorder, okay? Don't do it. If you overeat one day, fuck it. Go into the gym, lift heaps harder, use the extra energy to push up bigger weight, hit PBs, feel awesome, okay? And then go straight back into your diet, all right? That's all you need to do. Now, Brenton's just asked, upon waking in the morning, what do you recommend for good gut health, all right? The best thing that I can recommend for good gut health in the morning is drinking a litre of water, or getting in a substantial amount of water. That is what you need to do, okay? That is exactly what you need to do, man. Drink more water, the easiest way to improve your gut. Rightio. Next one. Unless you guys have any more questions. If you do, post them up and I'll go over them. Next topic is HIIT versus steady state cardio. So interval training versus long walks on the beach, okay? Both of them are really, really effective, but they both have very, very different ways that they work and very different effects on the body, okay? So for HIIT, I'm a massive fan of HIIT training. Number one, because I feel awesome on it. When you train and do HIIT, if you feel absolutely rooted but not spaced out in your head, okay, that is what is a good sign of you are cut out to do HIIT training. See, most people are either a sprinter or a marathon runner, okay? And you'll always, literally always gravitate to one of the two. You'll have the kids who could both do sprinting and do cross country at school. You'll have the kids who are just pure sprinters, and then you'll have the kids who are just pure long distance runners, all right? You'll have, it's literally one of those three. If you someone who could sprint, well, yeah, you're going to be a more fast twitch, dopamine dominant type of person, all right? If you could just do long distance, then you're going to be a less dopamine dominant, more acetylcholine type person who is, more slower twitch, muscle fiber dominant, okay? So with these, you need to find out which one you are in order to get the optimal results for it, okay? For me, for example, right, I can do HIIT for days, all right? I can sprint, all right? And then back up the next day and do it again. However, if you're gonna get me to do, fucking steady state cardio, literally after 20 minutes of steady state cardio, I'm rooted, like absolutely rooted. That's 20 minutes of walking, I die. Literally, my head gets all fuzzy, I can't think terribly well, it absolutely stuffs me, okay? So if I do 20 minutes of HIIT, which is a shitload harder than 20 minutes of steady state cardio, I'll feel a whole heap better on that. On top of this too, I'll actually lose more fat doing HIIT than what I will with steady state, okay? And this is where, you know, a lot of people in the fitness industry just who don't have experience with training people or don't have any really good, you know, knowledge or education about this, they'll say, oh no, HIIT's crap because HIIT burns less calories than steady state. Well, yeah, it does, but calories aren't the only thing that matters, all right? HIIT will actually affect your body in the way that you internally burn calories. It will change different processes in your body, such as muscle protein synthesis, okay? And it will change different signaling pathways and whatnot, differently to steady state cardio, which may or may not make you actually lose more fat than what you would if you were burning more calories, okay? And then the other thing about HIIT that is really thrown around a lot is this idea of EPOC, all right, or EPOC. Now, some of you might have heard this, some of you won't have, but it's EPOC is EPEOC, all right, or excess post-exercise oxygen consumption, okay? And what this means is that when you do HIIT, your body actually burns through more fat after, or more calories after you've done it, and it keeps going. And so for years, people are saying, oh yeah, no, HIIT's the thing. HIIT's exactly what you need to do in order to lose more fat because you keep burning fat after your workout. Well, yeah, you do, but it's bugger all, okay? So if somebody says, oh yeah, no, you need to do EPOC, you need to do HIIT because of EPOC or EPOC, right? Tell them, no, you don't. It doesn't really do much at all, okay? It has really a negligible effect. Where HIIT is good though, is as I said before, it is really, really awesome for actually stimulating growth. You see, I actually get a few people who can't squat terribly well, right, to actually do HIIT with their workouts. If they get on the spin bike and do HIIT every single day, you'll actually notice that they'll grow their quads and their glutes, okay? So their glutes and quads will grow by doing HIIT on the spin bike, and that's why I'm a massive fan of it. An absolutely massive, massive fan of it. Because it's another way to gain muscle as well as losing fat at the same time. On top of this too, I remember back in the day, a couple of years ago now, there's a study which came out and it showed that doing HIIT actually specifically mobilized fatty acids from the stomach. So it actually broke down stomach fat. This does not mean that you lost more fat throughout your body overall, but the fat from here would be broken apart and it'd actually be stored elsewhere in your body. So you'd actually get a leaner midsection, or that's what the study said anyway, okay? Which is really, really good to consider because the way that I look at it and from what I see is that people who do more HIIT and actually are more successful with their HIIT will be able to stay leaner through their midsection in general, okay? So I 100% see the results in real life to back up that study. Next one, cardio, right? Benefits of cardio is that yes, it will burn more calories than what HIIT will, right? However, it won't have the same favorable effects. It is absolutely fantastic for your lymphatic system. In fact, I'm starting to get more and more people to do cardio every single day, just for 10 or 20 minutes, bit of jogging, bit of skipping, bit of trampolining, stuff like that, in order to stimulate the lymphatic system. Now, for those of you who don't know, the lymphatic system is like an immune system throughout our whole body. It cleans out all the rubbish and the crap and the bacteria and the toxins and all that sort of stuff, all right? And it gets it moving. If you've got IBS, you've got a bad lymphatic system. If you've got any sort of, recurring infections, sinus illnesses, hay fever, even psoriasis, arthritis, anything inflammatory, all right? Anything to do with inflammation, excess inflammation, gout, for example, another one that we've talked about recently. Anything with high levels of inflammation, all right, the lymphatic system's involved and your lymphatic system is not working properly. And this is what cardio is great for, because it pushes that lymphatic system around, it cleans it out, and it helps your body heal itself, okay? So, on that, cardio isn't all good. So it's great because yes, it burns calories, it burns lots of calories, and yes, it makes your lymphatic system move around, makes you feel good, clears your head. But it is highly catabolic. If you do a lot of steady state cardio, what is going to happen is that you'll actually begin to adapt to being a leaner physique. Now, if we look, and we take a step back, and we look at how our body works, our body works to adapt to the stimulus we're given. So when we train weights, our body recognizes that we need to stimulate more muscle growth so that we can push more weight and we can move more weight with ease. On the other hand, if we do steady state cardio and we're doing lots of long distance stuff, our body will recognize that we actually don't need as much muscle to hold on to. So it'll start trying to get rid of that if we're not stimulating enough growth in the muscle. Okay. On top of this too, I remember reading somewhere, I don't know how true this is, but I remember reading somewhere there's a theory about when doing cardio and large amounts of steady state cardio, that you're actually better off and you'll be better adapted to suit higher body fat levels on your body, because that is what steady state cardio burns off. It burns directly from fat as opposed to glycogen. So you may actually be more likely to hold on to more fat if you do large amounts of steady state cardio, okay? That's why I don't always recommend doing massive amounts of steady state cardio. I actually recommend doing a bit of both. A little bit of HIIT and a little bit of steady state is absolutely fantastic, particularly doing a bit of HIIT first and then steady state after, right? It's great. Both of these things, steady state and HIIT, are great when used intelligently, but when overused, they're not good, right? If they're not used appropriately as well, if you're not cut out to do HIIT or you're not cut out to do steady state, it's gonna suck, all right? And it's not gonna be fun for you at all, okay? So you need to make sure it's tailored to you, your program, your protocols which you're following, they need to suit you, okay? And that's it, that's all I want to go over. So now we're going to get into the rest of these questions. So if you have anything else you want to talk about, comment below and I'll go through. Alrighty. Bren's just asked, is it better to drink filtered water or tap? Man, look, some people say that filtered water is better. Look, I'd say filtered water's better. Yeah, 100%. Filtered water's definitely better. You don't want to get the chloride and all the fluoride and all that shit that's in the water, all right? You want to try and filter that out. But at the same time, it's really not a big deal, all right? It's really not a huge deal. If you can buy a filter for 50 bucks, put it on, whack it on. What do you lose out of it, all right? I don't think I've seen any research, or I haven't seen any research, any conclusive research saying that people who drink filtered water are healthier than those who drink tap. But at the same time, my attitude is, well, if there's a potential that it might actually benefit you, then fuck yeah, do it. If it only costs 50 bucks, why not? Chono, great name, Chono. Do you have any recommendations to correct anterior pelvic tilt? Be strengthening core and hamstrings with a lot of stretching. Any other advice would be mid. All right, now with the anterior pelvic tilt, you need to figure out as to why it is occurring, okay? So it could be motor control. Right? It could be motor control, so just the fact that you don't know how to stand correctly and that's just what you've practiced, right? And you just need to simply out-practice that to get there. The other thing you've got to look at is your gut. Is your gut playing up? When you have a gut issue, your abdomen swells, right? And it actually pushes down your pelvis in order to expand it, right? In order to expand it and to allow room for it to actually move into it, and that can cause it, and that's a really big one. On top of that too, the next one is when the psoas gets inflamed, right? And the psoas gets inflamed, it can actually dick around with the pelvis. I'm not sure how someone much smarter than me told me that, and so I'm just repeating that information on. That's what you've got to look into, brother. The biggest one that I see which impacts all three of those is just the gut. If you look after your gut, you shouldn't really have an anterior pelvic tilt. Nick's just asked, is the apple cider vinegar and lemon to increase acid in my stomach? Yes, it is. So the apple cider vinegar will increase the acid in the stomach. Lemon actually, according to Chinese medicine, having a bit of lemon in the morning will stimulate the liver to start working, all right? How true that is, I don't know, but I do it, and it's really not the worst thing in the world. I recommend everyone does that, you know what I mean? It's a pretty stock standard one. So yeah, no, lemon actually won't increase the acid in your stomach. It is acidic, but it actually gets broken down and turns alkaline when it's in your body. But yeah, man, the reason why I do it is actually for the liver and start helping the liver work. How are you, Mark? Good to have you on board. Fred, instead of ACV or apple cider vinegar, is lemon water just as good? No, they're completely different, big fella. Completely different. Melina, how are you, mate? Melina's just said, sorry, missed what you said to take to increase acidity in the gut other than apple cider vinegar. Going back on a meat diet and struggling with digestion, feel like I'm holding a lot more fluid. Melina, start slowly and chew your food. One thing that a lot of people do when transitioning from a vegetarian or vegan diet into a meat diet again is you actually think that you can eat meat at the same rate which you can eat veggies, okay? So chop up your food really small and actually properly chew it. That is the biggest thing so many people miss, is that in fact, people just forget to chew their food. They literally forget to chew their food, okay? Take your time with it, be slower, supplement with betaine HCl, all right? Ask Woodsy about that. Betaine HCl and have a few digestive enzymes, okay? That'll help you out. Josh Terry, how are you, legend? Creatine and holding water. You shouldn't hold water when you're on creatine. You should actually like subcutaneous water, so water beneath your skin. You shouldn't get puffy, you shouldn't get a bloated face. All you should get is increased volume within the muscles. If you are holding water while taking large amounts of creatine, there's something wrong with your gut, okay? And you need to fix that. Creatine does irritate the gut, or can irritate the gut, if your gut health isn't optimal, okay? So you need to fix that up first, all right? You should not be holding water. Michael Snell, are there any sure signs to know you are gluten intolerant? Man, I just would never bother with gluten in the first place. What do you need it for? Like, you can get gluten-free pizza, gluten-free donuts, you can get gluten-free pasta, you can get gluten-free whatever the fuck you want. Why would you bother eating gluten when you and I both know that gluten is a gliadin, right? It's a type of protein which specifically stops the digestive tract from working and impedes the digestive lining from doing its job, okay? Wouldn't bother with it. No point to it whatsoever, okay? Anyway, guys, on that note, I'm gonna head out. Thank you very much for coming. I hope you enjoyed it. I'll be back online tomorrow. What's tomorrow? Tomorrow's Friday, right? No, I won't be back online tomorrow. I won't be back online tomorrow, but Monday I'll see you all then. And until then, comment up any questions that you have, ask about it, tell me about it, talk to me. And if you want a free digestive health ebook, just inbox us on Facebook. We're hooking everyone up with it at the moment because it's fucking epic, all right? Anyhow, I'm gonna leave you to it and we'll speak soon. Take care.